Happy Canada Day. Is this the second video I've made today? It is the second video I've made today. Let's check out some Boltboy Damage. So, before we get into that, thanks to all my patrons. Thanks to Wiberian for the channel art, and thanks to Baron of Dice. I'm still looking for more patrons, so go sign up. I am... let's keep going. Okay, so... here's a disclaimer before I get into this at all. Okay, here's a disclaimer. The disclaimer is that I haven't actually seen the War Scroll for myself. I'm going off of, like, what folks in my Discord, join the Discord, have told me about from videos that they've seen. But as far as I have personally not actually seen the Boltboy War Scroll, so this could change. This could be different. I could have been wrong, but I was very excited, and I know everyone is excited and super curious and interested to see the Boltboy War Scroll because of how important it was in our army. So I thought I would go with what I had, and of course later we're gonna do full reviews of every War Scroll in the game, or of every War Scroll in the Orc and the Gloomspike Gets armies. So, you know, stay tuned. That's what you subscribe for. You subscribe so you can come back later and check it out. So, okay, so first of all, the profile is different depending on if you moved or if you didn't move. It's no longer like hasty shot, aim shot. There's like hasty shot, aim shot for if you moved or if you didn't move. Essentially what happens is if you stay still, you get fewer attacks, like every model is one attack, but it's +1 to hit and +1 rend. And if you move, it's +1 attacks, but it's 1 less rend and 1 less to hit. So let's have a look. So first, let's look at the top. So this is if you moved. And one thing that you'll notice right away is that the damage, if you move, is actually lower than if you stand still. This is a fundamental shift from the way that Boltboys worked previously. And I, to be honest, I actually think it's kind of, like, I actually don't like it. I think it's kind of a bad design choice, personally. Just in terms of the flavor of how orcs are supposed to work. I always thought before that hasty shot was the better profile over aim shot, just because you threw more dice, and so you wanted like venom encrusted weapons, and that's still true. Like using the hasty shot is better overall. However, I always liked the idea that they were still orcs and they were still like running up into the fight, and so they wanted to be like moving and shooting, like running around with their fellow lads. You know, like kind of getting into the thick of it. I always liked that idea. I thought that was a better sort of aesthetic for orc archers than to plant yourselves in the back and like snipe things off at long range. You know, like I like the idea of like of them like moving around a lot, and that's how you're supposed to play them. You know, they're not supposed to just sit in the back, you know? So like, you know, whatever, that's fine. It's worse now to move them, which is more in line with like standard kind of archers, right? Like they want to sit still and shoot. A second thing that I'll point out right away is that they are infantry, so they can get the benefit of venom encrusted weapons. More on that in a bit. And they also get the benefit of sneak, of what is sneaking. I just call it sneak. So they are infantry, and from what I understand as I understand the rules right now, and again, this is all subject to change, but you can move them with sneak in the move phase, and they don't count as having moved, right? And then you can shoot. So what we're getting is the best of both worlds. We're getting the best of both worlds. It's like, they're better if they don't move, but we can sort of teleport them around the map, and it's kind of nuts because don't forget, you can sneak them on your turn into an aggressive position and then they get to shoot, and then on your opponent's turn in their move phase, after they've moved everything, you can sneak them away. They can go somewhere else. And I think, and then you can also spend a CP to shoot in your opponent's phase. So you can like move them and shoot them on your turn and on your opponent's turn, which is really strong. So the damage itself isn't the thing that dictates how strong a unit is, right? It's the points, it's the utility, it's the buffs they take, and all these kind of things, right? Okay. So the range, for hasty shot, is 12 inches. And the range for aimed shot is 18 inches. So let's have a look here. So all that we're going to focus on is the top left-hand quadrant here. Obviously, this is against the different levels of save. So our straight-up aimed shot against a 4-up save is going to deal about 5.5, 6 damage. Not a ton. Not a ton. Every single one of these profiles too, by the way, has crit auto wound. They no longer have crit mortals. They have crit auto wound, which I think is a good thing for the design of the game, because like before they were just like, we can all admit that Boltboys were really, really strong. They were probably the only really strong thing in Cruel Boys in 3rd edition, and everything else had to be balanced around them. But now, with their Venom encrusted weapons, they still can take Venom encrusted weapons, like I said, but now they just auto wound on a 5. But really strong saved units, like 2-up save units, 3-up save units, don't care all that much. Even if you get more wounds through, they're still going to be dealing. They're still going to be making their saves, right? 2-up saves, 3-up saves, they're still making their saves. So Boltboys are no longer a way that you can punch through high save units. It just, they're not playing that role anymore, right? I'm hoping that they're going to be quite a bit cheaper so that we can, and I've heard this is true, but again, I haven't seen anything for myself. I'm just really excited and looking into it, and when I look into it, I hit record. That's basically what I do, right? Anyway, so aim shot doing okay. Venom encrusted weapons for aim shot has a very, very small increase in damage. Like I said before, like against a 2-up save, it's like 0.2 extra damage for Venom encrusted weapons. You're not going to be wanting to use them, right? You're basically going to use Venom encrusted weapons on Gut Rippas, I think, is essentially what's going to happen. They're going to be, I think, the only real target for Venom encrusted weapons. And again, that's okay, because if you checked out my Dirty Tricks videos, one thing I was talking about a lot was how Venom encrusted weapons isn't guaranteed. And so if we needed Venom encrusted weapons to deal damage like we did in 3rd edition, then that rule becomes really challenging, where it's like you need to set everything up so that you do get your Venom encrusted weapons off. And now I don't think it's as important. So if you get it, it's great, but you can kind of plan around not getting it, right? Anyway, so the Venom encrusted weapons is quite low with aim shot. All-out attack, however, is a little bit better. We're getting about 1.3 extra damage for aim shot, so still not significantly better, right? Like, aim shot is going to have a 3-up to hit if you moved, and a 2-up to hit if you didn't move. Let's see if I can actually just pull up. The profile that I got was just, like, from a friend. So let's just see if I can't. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to find this right now, but that's okay. We'll get more on this. Oh, here it is. Okay, so Boltboys, 2 wounds on a 5-up save. Yeah, so if they moved, right, 12-inch range for the hasty shot, quote-unquote. So 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, crit auto wound. And at an 18-inch range, it's 1 attack, but you see that +1 to hit and +1 to wound. And if they don't move, right, they essentially get an additional +1 to hit. So instead of 4s and 3s, or 4s within 12 inches for hasty and 3 within 18, if they didn't move, it's 3 within 12, which is, you know, quite a bit better, and 2. So if we didn't move and they're within 18 inches, 2s and 3s, 2 rend, 2 wound, right? So these are what the attacks are. Essentially, if they're closer, you get +1 to hit, right? Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. I'm surprised that the profile is this complicated. But maybe I'm wrong. Again, disclaimer, I could very well be wrong. Oops. Okay, getting back here. So then with Venom encrusted weapons and all-out attack on a moved aimed shot, we're only increasing we're not even increasing the damage by 2. Right? So Venom encrusted weapons and all-out attack, if you moved with aim shot, it's not worth buffing them. It's not worth buffing them. Right? That all-out attack is giving you like 1 extra point of damage. It's probably not worth it. You know? So, don't buff your Boltboys if you've moved them with aim shot. So with hasty shot, so this is if you've moved them and then the enemy is within 12 inches. And again, there's probably going to be one of those battle formations that extends this range, right? So the damage is greater. So if they're closer, right? If they're within 12 inches instead of within 18 inches, the damage is going to go up by a little bit here. So in this case, we're gaining about like not even a full damage, right? And then Venom Encrusted Weapons, again, we're gaining about half a point of damage. It's not very strong. But if we are using all-out attack with our Hasty Shot, if we've moved, now we're actually going to go up by almost 2 damage. So a little bit better, because this profile here is hitting on 4s. So if we're able to suddenly hit on 3s, it's like, okay, maybe, you know, that's actually a fairly decent buff. Of so far, if you've moved your Boltboys, and they're within 12 inches, and you're using that Hasty Shot, it looks like a all-out attack might be worth it if you're sort of close to being able to deal enough damage. What you're seeing in front of you right now, this little chart with all these damages, I print these out and glue them onto the back of index cards, and on the front of that same index card, I have like a shorthand version of the war scroll for a unit. So I can actually flip the card around and be like, okay, like I need to deal about 7 wounds. What am I looking at here? Right? Like, what do I actually need to do to get to that point? Just kind of as a reminder, you know? Math. And then my dice roll terribly and it doesn't matter at the end, right? And then for this moved Hasty Shot, if we get everything, we're dealing about 11 damage. So, you know, we're actually dealing a fair bit of damage. And that's against a 5-up save. Against a 4-up save, it's like 9 damage. But Boltboys look like they're going to be actually pretty decent at maybe clearing off some screens. You know, a unit of Boltboys will shoot a unit of Hobgrots off the table. Or leave only 1 or 2 left. So, like, that's something. Like, maybe that's kind of their role. Maybe if we're looking for, like, huge mortal wound spikes, we're going to be looking at monsters and buffed up gut rippers. But maybe if we're just looking at, like, some chip damage or cleaning off or, like, adding a little bit of extra damage, right? Looks like Boltboys are going to kind of fill that role, which is kind of cool. Like, it's kind of cool. Cool. Now, if we stand still, aim shot against a 4-up save is going to be dealing about 7 damage. This is, like, 1.3 extra damage than if we did move. So moving and not moving isn't going to make a huge difference. The Venom Encrusted Weapon for a no-move aim shot is going to go up, again, not even a full damage, right? Venom Encrusted Weapons on Boltboys, it doesn't matter how you sort of slice it, you're going to get about a half extra damage. Don't use Venom Encrusted Weapons on your Boltboys, unless there's no other target, right? But it just doesn't sound like it's going to be good for them. I kind of want to see what the kill boss is like, and maybe for him it'll actually be good to use Venom Encrusted Weapons on him, but I doubt it. I think it's just going to be Gut Rippers. I'm really seeing a reinforced unit of Gut Rippers with Venom Encrusted Weapons, with all kinds of things, right? So, and the fact that you can only use 1 dirty trick per phase, it's not like if you had 3 units of Gut Rippers, you could use them 3 times, right? So, I'm kind of feeling that. I'm going to see my very first brick of 20 Gut Rippers on the table with Venom Encrusted Weapons and +1 to save and whatever else, +1 damage, or, you know, going into the fight. For all-out attack for aim shot, the damage actually goes down. This is if you didn't move with aim shot because you're already on a 2-up. You'll notice that aim shot and all-out attack aim shot have the same exact damage profile because you're on 2s to hit. So +1 to hit doesn't really do anything for you, you know? And with Venom Encrusted Weapons and with all-out attack, again, all-out attack is adding nothing. It's still the same as if you just had Venom Encrusted Weapons. So don't use all-out attack. And that's going to be obvious for you at the table, right? Because they're already on 2s to hit, so who cares? But for Hasty Shot, if you stayed still, so I think this is the profile. First of all, this is the profile that does the most damage, and I also think this is the profile that you can use with Sneaky Sneakin', where, you know, you have to teleport them outside of 9, right? But you're going to teleport them just within 12, like wholly within 12, or just within 12 for every model. You're going to be within 3 of the piece of terrain, so you're going to be invisible outside of 12. So only the thing that you're shooting at, is likely able to see you back. And this is the profile that, again, does the most damage, and the one that we're probably going to see used the most often. When things are going the way that you want them to go, this is the attack profile that you're going to be using. So with no buffs whatsoever, we're looking at about 8 damage. So we're kind of getting up there. You know, if it's a 5-up save, you're looking at 10 damage. So this will kill a unit of Hobgrots. This will kill those 10 model 1 wound screens. And maybe that's an excellent role for them. Maybe it's like the Gut Rippers move up with their supports. The Boltboys are going to sneak to the side, pop off a screen. To me, that sounds awesome. especially if the Gut Rippers are in a position where they can defend the Boltboys, because coming into us, like absorbing a charge, is still going to be something that the Gut Rippers are going to want to do. You know, just because of Strike Last, because of Venom Encrusted Weapons, because of -1 to hit, also because of the, what's it called? The seasonal rules, the Honor Guard, right? We're probably going to have -1 attacks or -1 to hit or whatever it was on the Sludge Raker. So like being sort of like a castle and having things come into you is still going to be kind of a good way for Cruel Boys to play. If we throw a Venom Encrusted Weapon on this no move Hasty shot, again, we're seeing like a half damage point increase. Doesn't really matter. But All Out Attack here is seeing about a 2 damage increase. So if you have nothing else to do with your command points, or if you need to sort of push that damage over, you know, like if you need that couple extra points of damage, All Out Attack with Hasty shot seems good. And then again with All Out Attack and Venom Encrusted Weapons, we're not looking at really that much of a damage increase, right? We're looking at, again, about a half a point of damage. Venom Encrusted Weapons is only going to add about a half point of damage. You know, if they have like really bad saves, it'll be a little bit better. But if the better the save that, like if we look up here at like Venom Encrusted Weapon for aim shot, right? The 5-up saves, because this has 2 rend, and the 6-up save are just at 7. But the damage here is increasing by about 1.2. But here at the low end, it's only 1.1. It's even less, you know, so the worse save they have, the better Venom Encrusted Weapons is going to be on Boltboys. But like I said, like you're not using Venom Encrusted Weapons on Boltboys. The turn that you say you want to use Venom Encrusted Weapons on Boltboys and you fail the roll, you're like, like it's not really going to matter. But, you know, Boltboys are still going to be, like, dealing some decent damage, but I think we're going to be trying to target weak saved units. I think that's going to be their role. In third, it was target everything. It was point and shoot and blow things up. Like, I would be dealing like 20 mortal wounds to things, you know, with 6 Boltboys within range of a Sludge Raker, like with all the right buffs. But it's looking different now. I'm also kind of hoping, I haven't really checked out the Sludge Raker too much, but I'm also kind of hoping that maybe we don't need to play around the Sludge Raker either. I'm kind of hoping that the Sludge Raker is going to be tied to Gut Rippers and less so tied to Boltboys. And so the Boltboys can really be like bouncing all over the map, taking shots, weakening things down, disappearing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So what do you think of the Boltboys? Points is everything here. I don't think they're going to be 120 points for 3. I'm thinking because everything sort of got a point increase, they're going to be closer to about 100 points for 3. But we can always hope that they're 80 points for 3. But we'll have to see. Anyway, tell me in the comments below. Come join the Discord. Tell me what you think. But most importantly, like, subscribe. Wah.